What if I told you that the guy who played the grumpy detective in one of the most underrated cop shows of the 80s was also a guy who literally crossed borders to redefine what Canadian TV could do? Scott Hylands wasn't just another actor playing a cop, he was a cultural bridge between two nations, and his death at 83 feels like the end of an era that we're only now starting to appreciate. Let me tell you why this matters more than you might think. Here's a wild fact: Night Heat wasn't just a show. It was a seismic shift in how Canada approached television. Imagine this, back in 1985, when most Canadian content was either hockey highlights or niche dramas that never made it south of the border, here comes this gritty, documentary-style cop show that actually aired on CBS. And not just in the morning. It was late-night TV competition with Johnny Carson. That's not just bold, it's almost reckless. What does that say about the kind of confidence Canadian producers had back then? I mean, who else would dare to take on the American market with a show that felt so raw, so unpolished, yet so authentically Canadian? Now, let's talk about Hylands himself. He was this guy who spent decades playing villains and heavies in American TV, and then finally got to be the good guy in Night Heat. It's almost like the universe was giving him a second chance to be the hero. But here's the kicker: he wasn't just playing a cop, he was playing a cynic. A guy who'd seen it all, who didn't trust anyone, and yet somehow still showed up every day to do the job. That duality, that complexity, is what made O'Brien so compelling. It's not just a character, it's a mirror held up to every viewer who's ever felt burnt out by the system, but still shows up for the grind. That's storytelling at its finest, right? And let's not forget the production itself. They shot episodes between 6 p.m. and 4 a.m., like they were making a documentary on a budget. The whole thing felt like a gritty news report, which is wild because it's fiction. That level of commitment to realism. That's not just a creative choice, it's a statement. It's saying, we're not here to entertain you with shiny sets. We're here to show you the truth of what cops go through. And yet, it somehow outperformed Johnny Carson's Tonight Show in some markets. How? Because people weren't just watching, they were hooked. They wanted to see what happened next, even if it was messy and unpolished. That's the power of authenticity, folks. But here's what really gets me: Hylands' career was a masterclass in reinvention. He started in off-Broadway, then bounced between films and TV, always adapting, always evolving. And then, in his 40s, he became a Canadian icon. That's not just a career, it's a blueprint for how actors should approach their craft. He didn't stick to one role. He didn't let typecasting define him. He kept pushing boundaries, even when the industry might have expected him to settle into a comfortable niche. And then, in his later years, he was on Fargo, playing a character that was as morally grey as O'Brien. That's not a coincidence. It's a testament to his range, and his refusal to be defined by any one role. So when we hear about his death, it's not just about losing an actor. It's about losing someone who helped shape the very fabric of Canadian television. Someone who proved that Canadian stories could compete with American ones. And yet, outside of die-hard fans, how many of us even know his name? That's the saddest part. We're losing these cultural architects, while we're still figuring out their legacy. But here's the thing: every time you watch a gritty cop show, every time you see a Canadian actor break through on American TV, you're seeing the ripple effects of people like Hylands. And that, my friends, is a legacy worth remembering.